Welcome everybody. It's your boy Roy,
And I'm Chaka.
and we want to welcome you here to Beauty and Beard. We want to give you all a heads up that we're going to be talking about some topics that are near and dear to us. We're going to be talking about marriage, faith, and intimacy, aka
Intimacy.
sex. Shaka won't say it, but I will. Parental advisory. You may not want to have your little ones around as we talk about this, about these topics. So here we go. Welcome everybody. It's your boy Roy,
And I'm your girl Chaka.
and we are Beauty and Beard. We are super duper excited for this episode we have here today. We have our best friends, our one of our favorite married couples, might be my favorite married couple, to be quite honest with you. And I'm only saying that because we're being recorded right now.
I was about to interrupt you. I said, one of. I don't do no one of.
You see, I caught myself.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I caught myself because I want to show respect. You know what I'm saying? I want to show respect. The Johnsons. We have Cherelle and Chris Johnson, and we have a little extra special guest, Caleb Johnson, who can't go to sleep right now. So he's going to be joining us for this special podcast. When he starts snoring and the tape cuts and he disappears, it's because we put him in his sleeping location. So welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, this is actually really special for us because the Johnsons have just celebrated 9 years of marriage.
Yes.
How is it?
It's pretty good.
It's been pretty good.
She's the best wife ever. I can't imagine anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when God says, in our weakness, His strength is made perfect. His grace was manifested in Cherelle for me.
Oh.
You never say anything
Like that about me.
Well, I bought this house for you, didn't I? That's my way of showing my love to you.
We had a conversation in the last video where you said, "Hey, your name is not on the lease," and I said, "I have a lawyer that says." So
This is one of the things that Cherelle and I fear, being caught in public disputes with other married couples. We're fine. We're okay.
You're fine. Yeah, you're fine.
But it's really
I
awkward.
adjust
So we're
my
going to
microphone.
awkwardly moonwalk out of there. Yeah, but hey, how's the weather? 'Cause
It's pretty good.
yeah, are we avoiding conflict?
Yes.
Okay. Yay.
So one of the things that I want to do today, guys, is because y'all celebrating 9 years of marriage, we want to dig into your marriage, ask you questions about what were your we're gonna ask you a bunch of questions. But before we get started, one thing that y'all need to know about the Johnsons is that they don't eat meat. And oftentimes when I go over to their house, I have nothing to eat at their house.
It's not true.
And I want to
Not
know
true.
why.
Troy only eats limited vegetables.
Troy's fax machine is broke.
Why? What's that supposed to mean? I'm out of date? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Because I eat meat?
No, because you say you don't have anything to eat when you come to my house.
I'm just saying, you can only eat wheat grass for so many times.
They have processed, pressed, and fried it in so many different ways now. Vegan easy. We're not vegans.
I was about to say,
No.
so technically, what would you call yourselves?
Pescatarian.
And
That's because somebody told us that's what.
we thought they were like revealing a new denomination or something.
right.
Pescatarian.
Pescatarian.
I know Presbyterian.
All right. So, okay, what actually made you guys want to change your diet up?
Yeah, it started as a fast. Actually, right before we started dating.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2009. It was just a way to try to give my body back into the Lord. It's His temple, and I have underlying health issues that just kind of pass down from generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be able to live an excellent life and play with my grandkids. And I didn't want to hinder the gospel because I was physically ill.
Right.
And so we fasted. that year from all meat, seafood, sweets, and all of that. And then in 2010, we only felt released. At that point, we were dating.
Right.
We only felt released to eat seafood, and we kind of kept it as that. That's been a baseline. It's a reminder that we could tell our bodies no.
Mm.
Yeah.
Has it been hard?
I don't know that it's been hard. I think the hardest, what's hard about it is convenience more than not being able to eat meat. It's just you go somewhere and it's just more convenient because that's mostly what's there. That's the platter that's available. But it's forced us to be creative. So for me, the hardest thing is convenience. But now restaurants and stuff, they make non-meat eating things. Caleb has something to say. What you got to say,
Caleb, what you got to say? He just wanted to touch the microphone.
So,
But really, you started before me.
yes.
So that year, Chris was fasting. This is before we were dating.
Yep. It started as a 21-day fast that never ended.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
I
so,
thought it was gonna be a week for me. I committed to a week.
Do y'all miss it? Y'all miss?
the only thing I miss is golden fried chicken tenders. I'm telling
Now
you.
hold on. If you had to go get some chicken tenders right now, where would you go to get them?
Man,
Because it's been how many years?
it's been 11.
And chicken tenders have evolved.
I've been watching them. I was hoping somebody had an Instagram channel or Instagram page on chicken tenders, but I decided not to look it up. Be too close to lust. It's called that food porn.
For food point. Yeah, exactly, right?
No, I would probably I would check with my local fat boy crew, who keep up with with the latest cutting edges things like Baby D kept up with the Twinkies. you want to edit that part out?
I probably will cut that out because a lot of people won't even know who Baby D are. Because Chaka doesn't even know who Baby D is.
Shaka, God bless you. It's great that you don't know.
It actually adds no value to know to your life.
Cherelle.
There's no
Derek
value.
Burrows put me onto a restaurant in Northern Virginia years ago that had the best chicken tenders ever. And I would go back to revisit it to see if the nostalgia is still there.
Is that Roscoe's?
Nah, it was like a fancy restaurant. It was like $15 chicken tenders.
Oh my gosh. Now look. The Lord's chicken at Chick-fil-A is pretty good.
Yes.
The Lord's chicken.
I smell
Yes. With the Polynesian sauce.
it. Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's a random conversation.
I know it is the most random conversation. So, Johnson's, we're coming up on 9 years of marriage.
They had just had.
Yeah.
They just celebrated.
Matter of fact, hold
9
on.
years.
2 days ago, right?
Yeah, July 16th.
July 16th. Okay. So we're in this age where traveling and a lot of things have been really limited. Were you all able to celebrate it the way that you all wanted to celebrate it?
I think, yeah. I don't know what we would have done not pre-COVID. I don't know that we had as planned. We might have already been traveling somewhere. We usually tag on something there. But I was with him. We had childcare. We drove outside of Harrisonburg. I had key lime pie.
So key lime pie is big for you?
That's an anniversary thing, for sure.
It started about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yep.
That was her first time having key lime pie.
Right.
I put her on our anniversary. We were in Florida at some boat restaurant. It was really cool. I was like, they got to have good key lime pie
Wasn't
in
that
Florida.
a big thing at Key West?
Oh,
Key lime pie?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
Why is that a
think
big
so.
thing in Florida?
Key lime, Key West.
Oh.
Yeah. I think just a place where limes grow like easily is
Right,
you get
right.
fresh lime
makes
juice.
sense.
So yeah,
I forgot that boat. That was a boat restaurant too.
I think our celebration, we enjoy keeping it simple because life has enough busyness and stuff with it already. And so going to a restaurant out of town, dressing up, taking a picture, it was like, I think the simple part, and you probably hear me say a lot about marriage and simplicity for us, that we had quality time. It was our first time like being without young Caleb on a date, you know what I'm saying? And we are, for real, it's like life is fulfilling. And so just having a quality time to communicate, look at each other and frolic.
Frolic.
Yes.
Is that what the folks are calling it nowadays? Frolicking.
That's what the wife that the Lord has blessed me with calls it. So therefore, I call it frolic, and we go cruising for chicks. Not like chicks like girls, like chicks like just going cruising. Maybe Smokey song, Cruising was made for love. Music was made for love. I love it when we're cruising together.
Yeah. You didn't clean that up very well at all. So,
that's what she calls it. So,
it was from a movie.
We had a bunch of questions that we don't readily have in front of us.
Homies.
But do you by chance have a question you want to start off with, babe?
So one thing that you guys talked about in the very beginning, when you were explaining how you came about this lifestyle of being pescatarian.
Yeah.
You said that it's something that you started together even before you were dating, and then it continued into your dating season, and now it's found itself in your marriage. So one of the things that we were curious about, we know your story, and we know all of us were friends in college first, and none of us were dating. And then eventually, through our friendships and relationship, God started kind of showing us things, and here we are, a decade later, literally. And we're married to friends. What are some of the things that you guys, actually tell us I call it your origin story. Like, how did your relationship develop? And what, for those who don't know, where did it start? And even maybe a little bit before, like, when did you start seeing the change and the transition? And, you weren't just friends, but we want to hear your story.
You want to take first stab at it, babe?
We have two stories.
All right, my story. I was preaching on JMU campus.
So you got two stories, so both the stories ain't the same?
Mine ain't gonna take that long. It's the same. It's just the guy version.
Gotcha. Okay, I got you.
All right. So first story is I was a senior at Bridgewater College. I was teaching / preaching on Jeremiah. I got that fire at a JMU Bible study. I think it was Impact, and that was Cherelle's first time like knowing who I was, and she fell in love with me, but she knew. She asked, "What must I do?"
Right. Okay.
To be with Chris Johnson, and said, "You must repent from your sins, turn from this perverse generation, and be saved. You first got to give your life to Jesus."
Right.
So she gave her life to Jesus, got right with the Lord, discipled, and all of that, and then at that point, my eyes were open to this wonderful woman of God that she had become, and we fell in love. And it wasn't love at first sight, because I hadn't seen her. I wasn't woke yet.
Right. Okay.
But then when I did wake up, and I was like, that's it right there. And so yeah.
So what's true is the part you were teaching at JMU, and you came in with like 75 other guys. And at JMU, we were predominantly white college. I was at a Bible study. And then you come in with 75 other African American men. I'm like, what happened? Like, this is not JMU. This is not just my college. What happened? But that's the first time I saw you.
Yeah.
That the rest was not true.
Yeah. So we were part of a campus ministry, as Chaka said, and me, Troy, and another friend of ours, we founded that ministry by accident. And Cherelle was in the crew, and we were friends. We were friends for a long time, and their friendship kind of blossomed into something more. In 2009, I was going through. I just got out of a relationship, and I was really seeking the Lord just on the next season of my life. Cherelle being a good friend of mine, I was fasting, and she was like, "Well, I'm gonna fast too," and I was like, "No, you can't fast with me. That's just too close and intimate." So you can't tell me not to follow the Lord. I won't try to tell you not to follow the Lord. I just say I don't know if we should be just fasting together. It got to be like a whole ministry thing. And she was like, "Well, I'm gonna fast anyway." I was like, "Well, you fasting yourself, not with me." But,
right.
But she was an intercessor for me years before there was any romantic desire or acknowledgement.
Right.
And then we kind of our friendship was at a place where we trusted. She walked with me through a relationship I was in a relationship with somebody else, and Cherelle was that one friend that I could talk to. And she's the one actually told me, ask the girl out. Like
I thought she was a good choice. We were like legitimately friends, like brother, sister. It was nothing else. So I was just like, oh, she's nice. Like this would be nice. I like her. You like her. This is gonna be good. We could be a crew. She could be in the crew.
Yeah. So and we just I think the platonic, is that the right word?
Yeah,
the platonic friendship. It kept me in a level of purity to really see her beauty. And I'm not saying it to be romantic or anything, but I didn't pervert. I didn't pervert anything. I didn't try to pursue her haphazardly or immaturely or prematurely. And I think as the relationship matured, vision for life was maturing.
Yeah. And
as I knew I was going to be planting a church, I think one of the conversations that probably helped us out the most was we were having broccoli and cheddar soup. And I made it. The weird thing, listen.
Wait, why do we remember that you were having broccoli and cheddar
because
soup?
I was fasting from meat, and so I found this was one of my favorite dishes. So
Gotcha.
we'd do that with the bread bowl or something like that, and that's what we would do. So for some reason, everybody else was eating something else, so everybody else had left the house to get something to eat.
Yep.
We was hanging out at her and Sheena's house.
Yep.
And everybody else was gone, and we was just waiting for them to get back. So we sitting there eating, talking about this vision for the church.
Yep.
I was like, hey, I think I'm really going to plant this church. I was like, I want to do it. I want you to be on my squad. And she's like, where else would I be?
like, yeah, you ain't gonna play the church without me. Like, what is that about?
Right. And at that point, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll plant a church just for her to have a place where she can get word, get a quality worship of the Lord and song and grow. And then I went back and said, what did I just say? And so she texts me later on that evening.
I was like, everything you did was a little too much. Like, it felt really intimate. And
You cooked for me, told me your vision, gave me an irreplaceable role in your life.
And I was like, you put me in an irreplaceable role in your life. I was like, no, you can't do. That's not a good thing to do. Like, I'm
So
still
you
not
called
thinking
that out.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I'm still not like. We're not like shooting game here. I'm just like, now you can't go telling girls that they need to be a part of this next big thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's just too. I literally said that's such an intimate thing to get vision like that. And he was like, oh, okay.
Were you saying that to protect yourself, or what? You know,
I didn't know that I was protecting myself. Like, I didn't have feelings for him, or I didn't know them, or were aware.
You were just looking.
I was
out for
literally
him.
like my brother. Like,
Okay,
hey,
yeah.
now.
Hey, you can't be flirting with people like that.
Nah, I didn't even think flirting. I was just like, that was like, you just cast this beautiful vision for ministry and said that I need to be a part of it.
yeah.
I was like, that's just like a close conversation, like an intimate conversation. Now, protecting myself, I still wasn't thinking we would be together. We weren't dating. We weren't liking each other that we were even aware of. I just knew, I was like, man, to be having vision for your life and your next season, and you're putting someone in it.
Yeah.
Be careful who you're talking to and giving that detail.
And how old were you all at this time?
So 2009, 11 years ago, 25.
25.
Yeah.
You know, it's not really common for 25-year-olds to have a vision for their lives.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know any statistics, but I know when I was 25, I was just like, I need to get this money because Sprint want this check every month, and I'm gonna have to pay Sprint off.
Yeah. And
That's
then
only. I was like, so how am I gonna get this money now? I got it legally.
Good.
you
good.
got it legally.
I got the money legally.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. So it wasn't illegal. So that was my own thing. What can I do legally
Uh-huh.
so I won't have to go to jail? So I can pay Sprint off, so I can text Chaka. That's the only thing I was trying to worry about at that time.
I think even when she told me that, I was like, yeah, if somebody's going to call me out like that, it'll be her. But at this point, I had the feeling. I said, well, I don't want to take what I said back. And that's when it kind of dawned on me. I was like, I think I got some feelings for her.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit more. And then I started getting territorial. So, like, if the whole crew kicking it, right, and we always had, like, 10 people around us,
Right.
and we about to watch a movie, and I wanted her to be able to sit beside me. If somebody else sat there or something like that, I started having this little, like, that's my seat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, let me.
Excuse me. Right. Let me get. That's like we posed. Even when we took road trips as a ministry, Like, and she would ride in the front seat because she would love to talk, ask questions, and I would come to greater clarity of self, clarity of ministry, and stuff like that. So her riding in the front seat with me, it was already like we were almost playing like Mom and Papa the Crew to some degree. You know what I mean? People it was fine. But when she said that, and when I realized I would pursue my vision of God's vision of me planting a church for one congregant, at that point, I said, this woman can make me walk in vision like that. I said, she's more than a friend.
Right.
Because I can't occupy anybody else in my heart like that. And at that point, it just kind of, I think I beat around the bush for a few months trying to figure this thing out. I believe it was Jamar Peterson. Him and Danae was dating, and we were watching a movie, and we was in Old Richmond, and Cherelle fell asleep on my shoulder or something like that, and I knew that was different. And I was like, oh, and mind you, I kept big distance from people. I didn't like long hugs. I don't want nobody to touch my hand. I didn't want nobody accidentally.
You liked it when I hugged you, though.
That's brotherly love, bro. Like, that's all mine. Hugs. It's just like from women. It's like you, my sister. It's like boom, church hug.
Right.
Her laying on my shoulder and falling asleep. I knew it was something different. So yeah, at that point, Jamar asked me. He said, and I'm like a big brother to him, so he won't trying to, get into my business too much. He said, would you happen to have feelings for a Miss Cherelle? And I said, yes, you're the first one to know that because nobody else asked me that, and I didn't know it either.
Was I at camp?
I think you were. No, I don't know.
It's 2009. It's summertime.
It was summertime. I don't know if you were at camp yet. By the time we made it official, I know you had got back because I remember you asking me a question. What separates Cherelle from any other lady that we're around? Yeah. He's and part of your motivation, like I'm best friend. I'm Bob. You're the beard.
Right.
But you was asking it twofold because you knew you was like, look, man, I've seen you fall in love and get your heart broke before. And I don't want that to happen. But also, you can't mess with Snoot, which is Cherelle.
Right.
And if you mess with her, it's gonna be some smoke in the city.
Right.
Like I'll fight you, bro. Like that's my little sister. And so
I would.
I was in your room in the basement. And so yeah, man, I think at that point, all of that began to make a big difference. And I had to recognize that it was something very different about Cherelle than any other lady in my life.
So I'm hearing this, and I hear that, of course, we're going to get a little bit more deep into it, but I'm hearing this, and it sounds like you're a 25-year-old man.
Yes.
And in your mind, you're wanting to make, there's like a step of wanting to make a commitment.
Yes.
But you and I know some 25-year-old men who struggle with relationship commitment.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
Well, one,
I know it's a random question.
No, but it's all good. I mean, one, psychologically, or either the formation of the brain, the male's his frontal lobe is not fully formed until 25.
Okay.
And then it doesn't really crystallize until like early 30s. In other words, a lot of his decision making capabilities have not completely matured. And while we are considering an adult at 18 and could do stuff at 21, we still are primarily making decisions by the things that drive passion, anger, and lust of that part of our brain, like where the adrenaline is housed as well. And so for one, just psychologically, we need mentors. We need other people to help serve as a frontal lobe. But I think what you said too, Troy, is like we are trying to build a life and a status of what man looks like. And we have so many perverted, broken views of what man looks like. It's like, man, how can I get the house, the car, the big job, show off a little bit, then calm down? I think that's sometimes the issue, or sometimes just the fact that we still kids. We uninitiated men, wearing men's clothing, got men's jobs, have men's money, and we still want to play. And it's hard, to mature and get big vision without a renewed mind. I think it takes the Lord, or either it takes God intervening, even if you don't know it. You know what I mean? It got to be like, man, this business thing, I was always driven by this, caring for other people. So Yeah, I ain't gonna try to get too preachy on it, but
That's all good. Hey, I asked the question because
Yeah.
I wanted you to answer.
So, one of the reasons why I asked the question initially about the plan or the process of you guys fasting together was because I know that in the beginning you guys were very intentional about your dating and very intentional about how you saw your marriage possibly playing out and some of the goals that you had. And so I look at the fasting part as being one of the things that you first did together to prepare for marriage. What are some of the things that you possibly did intentionally, knowing that you were getting to the point of commitment and this could be a marriage? How did you prepare for what you wanted your marriage to look like, and what was the influence for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the first thing we did was fast, like you were saying. Once we expressed mutual interests, because we were already so good of friends, like we had already met parents, and his mom was already Mama Johnson. Like it was just those things were so natural and fluent for years. We had to ask the question: this is good, but is this God? You know what I'm saying? And so for what we can see, this could work, but for what we can't see, like, God, what do you have for us in our destiny? And so our fasting went really say, okay, we can see how this could work, but God, what do you have? And so I think our natural gifts. So in our fasting, we created a course. We created a course because I'm administrative and that's what I do.
Just a little bit.
Everything
Just
becomes
a
a something. And so we created these courses, and we had scripture, and we really was trying to seek, okay, what's the vision for us? What's the vision for marriage? And I forget that it was like 4 or 5 courses came out of it.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things we believe fasting is, you have many spiritual disciplines. Fasting is a way of hearing God's voice, turning down your plate and other pleasures just to get closer to God. So it's a clarifying process, discernment. And so as Cherelle was saying, we were just trying to discern, okay, Lord, if us, why now? Why us? And what's going to be different about this? And so in the midst of that, kind of like we developed a pre-commitment guide. You know what I mean? So it's we haven't committed yet. We expressed mutual interest. As you were saying, you're administrative. I was in grad school at the time, and we had, I think it was like 5 courses. We did 2 semesters, but it got we forgot some of the courses, but we did chemistry, just, how we connect, communication. Yeah. And I know, what was another one?
We had physical education.
Yeah, that was basically sexual purity. So,
we gonna talk about it.
Yeah, please.
And what was it? What was the 4th one?
Chemistry, communication, sexual purity, ministry, like
something with purpose.
Something with purpose that was really helping us hone in for our vision. And Cherelle, as she was praying, she's the one that got 1 Chronicles 13:3, where David, what did he say, babe?
He talked about it was when he became king, his first mission was to bring the Ark of the Covenant back. So symbolizing the presence of God back where it was supposed to be.
Got you. Okay.
And so I was doing a Priscilla Shire study, and that really popped off to me. And I was like, and I really feel like the Lord was showing me, hey, this is what I want you all to do. This is why now bring back the Ark in church and communities, bring back the presence of God. And so that became the foundation of our courtship. And from there, it was, okay, this is the foundation of our marriage. And that is how we kind of birthed the vision from there, from that text.
And I think the other part, too, we realized, we were battling, at that time in our walk with the Lord, not trying to be pharisaical, and whatnot, and not wanting to, quote unquote, over spiritualize. But we realized we have overly fleshed so much. And so it's like how we need to actually be as spiritual as possible entering into this, because if this is going to lead to marriage, like we need more of Jesus. I knew I would mess it up because I just I had just came out of a messed up relationship. I can't say I messed it up, but I just came out of a messed up relationship with a Christian. And so I knew just because 2 people are Christians don't mean that your relationship is going to be 100% godly or you're going to actually hear God. You'll start hearing each
Mhm.
other.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so, when we developed that, we printed it out, and we would fast and pray and come back and do Bible study together,
Yeah.
and continue to discern these things. As First Chronicles 13:3 came up, we realized bringing back the ark was a big thing for us. And in the presence of God is the fullness of joy. The Lord shares secrets with the righteous. And so he's like, God, we want to hear you.
Yep.
Tell them about your dream. I think that was just significant too.
Yeah.
As we were making our decision.
I had a dream, and I'm not a big dreamer. I don't dream often, but what I do is usually I know, okay, God is showing me something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a dream that it was the end times, end of the world. And it was kind of like two scenes. The first scene was just me going out of my townhouse where I lived, and Chris going out of his townhouse. And then we were sharing the gospel with people, letting them know that this was the end times and Jesus was going to return. And then the next scene was us coming out the house together. And then we were sharing the gospel, and we were able to reach more people. It was a multitude of people at that time. And so I was like, that sounds like a positive.
That sounds really good to me.
And it was that during that time of fasting as well.
And then the scriptures, if one could set 1,000 to flight, two could set 10,000. And so there was a multiplication thing. The Lord was like, you can go in life and at this vision as friends, but you all being one is going to expedite the process of what I want to do through both you all individually and collectively.
Mm.
And for me, that was big because I didn't know what marriage should look like. I didn't have like the examples of that, or even I had some examples of what dating and purpose. So it was like, God, you got to show me, because I don't have this, here's what it would be. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's a guide. And so I was like, God, this got to be you. And I never envisioned myself being married that young either. Like, it wasn't my plan in my life. So I was like, all right. Like, we were good friends. This got to be you, God. And I think after that, it just solidified for me. We could have got married the next month. Like, I never questioned. It was never is this the one or not? I was sure. Because I feel like I had vision from the Lord and purpose. And so then other things we did to prepare were practical things. We talked to mentors. We let people know, hey, I'm dating this guy. What do you have to say about it? Let our friends know.
How did you choose your mentors?
How did we choose mentors?
People who had relationships that we like.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Like, really, I mean, we didn't, and I'm not trying to bang on other people's marriages, relationships. We saw examples that it may have been fine for them, but that's not what we wanted.
Right.
And so if there's going to be a place where we're going to be, very choicey, like, hey, that little thing, how they talk to each other or what they do. And so we just looked at people who were in ministry together.
Yep.
We looked at folks who were just godly folks that were calm, not irrational, which was a big thing for us. Because sometimes people get very irrational in their communication with one another. And so we chose that. We chose people who were 5 years ahead.
Yep.
10 years ahead, 20 years ahead. And we interviewed couples. We interviewed a newlywed couple, which we might get into that a little bit later, but they were on the whole piece. Well, the one spouse we talked to, they were on the whole piece. The first year of marriage is hard. Marriage is hard. This is hard. Da 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 da. And we were like, nah, that ain't of the Lord.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but we wanted to hear a newlywed perspective.
Right.
We also wanted to get people that was not just in our culture. Just African American. So that was good too.
Yep.
Different perspective is always
different
good.
perspectives. Yeah, we even talked to my parents.
Yep.
We took them out to dinner and had the conversation with them. My mom said, "No, don't repeat that." But
it's really funny that you say that you all allow people to come into your relationship, because I oftentimes get the understanding like it's amongst young couples, they don't want people telling them how to run their relationship.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be in my business. This is between me and us and all this type of stuff. But it's amazing y'all open the door for other people to come in. And I imagine it's partially because of wanting somebody to invade your space.
Yeah.
And give guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was sure, but I was open for other wisdom. You know what I'm saying? My, what was I, 23 years of wisdom. I wasn't banking on that to make this final decision. And I think we kind of already lived our lives like that in community with friends and mentors and people speaking into our lives before, outside of marriage. Like, what should I do for my career, or where should I move? I would have done the same thing. And so I'm like, why not in this big decision have some wisdom? even more.
Yeah.
We just knew, like, in many ways, we just knew, like, pride doesn't lead anywhere good. You know what I mean? And so it was like, we don't have to have this thing together. We want to get it together.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And things we practice in ministry: transparency, humility, and edification. Are you the leader? I don't know if you remember that joint or not. But it was like, we got to live this. Like, you know, we got to be the work before we do the work type thing. And so, but also, if we knew if we goofed up, that it was going to drive a wedge in many of our friends' lives, in the ministry life. So we knew other people, not dependent upon it, other people were impacted and affected by what we decide to do and how we decide to do it.
Yeah.
And as a leader of young adults at the time, I had to grow and mature with eyes on me. You know what I'm saying? So, and if I want to help people in their private life, I got to make sure my private life is together. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's just another piece of inviting people in.
No, that's real talk. Cause I remember our first year of marriage. It was kind of it was rocky. And it involved us to do some work. But it was all worth it. But part of the thing that kept me committed to our relationship, although you are enough for me to be committed to the relationship, I just want to let it be known.
Yeah.
Was the fact that I made a commitment in front of a whole bunch of friends and family and God.
Before God and these witnesses.
Exactly. Saying that I was going to stick through it through better for worse.
Yeah, no doubt.
I want to go back to something that Cherelle actually mentioned. You said that you didn't have an example really that you could go by. And hearing your story, both of you, about your, I'm going to keep calling it courting period. Okay. About that time when you were dating, it's unique. Like, that's not a story. When I asked the question about being intentional, I mean, you had a plan. You had a syllabus for your.
We're gonna dig into that because I think a lot of our singles and dating would benefit from that.
Dope.
Yeah. I mean, that right there in my mind is a pre-marital counseling draft, if you will.
So actually, that's what it turned into.
That's what we would use to this day.
Yeah, because I got married. We got married July 2011.
Yep.
July 16th. And that next year, I officiated 3 weddings and did marriage counseling with 3 or 4 couples.
Premarital, yeah.
And so we had been married 6 months. Somebody was like, "Yeah, you're going to do premarital counseling with us."
Well, we got this thing.
Well, we good at pre. We good at pre. So, but to what you're saying.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, that is such a unique origin story in and of itself. And so with you having that plan and talking about how you guys, I guess, fashioned or formatted your marriage in the very beginning, coming from a place like having such a great plan when you're in it, not having an example before it, what did you have any preconceived notions about marriage, like something that maybe you thought it would be going into it, like maybe something from your parents that you'd seen or other people, because you said you also saw what other individuals had, some of the high points that you saw and maybe even some of the low ones that kind of got you to the point of developing a plan the way you did.
Yeah, I think before Chris, I think my thought of marriage was you get married when you're done living life. It was like, okay, I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna get a career, I'm gonna work in New York. Like, I had these things I'll do, and then I'll get married so I can do what I want to do first. And then when I'm done doing that, okay, well then marriage is a good thing to do, and it wouldn't hold me back. So,
Right.
and I think I heard just growing up, not directly, how I received what I saw. You know what I'm saying? What that showed me was, marriage is either someone had to get married or they felt like this was just time to get. I've never heard like, ooh, there was a purpose and we were going after it,
Right.
type thing. And so it wasn't really till being discipled in the Lord and really learning about godly marriage. I was like, wow, I didn't come from a place of knowing what that was or knowing that, okay, God ordained such a thing. And it wasn't until then. I think I accidentally read a book. I was getting a book because I was always into like, a woman of God, what that is, leading women's ministry. And I got a book that I thought was about being a female leader, but it was actually about marriage. And I was like, man, this is what marriage is supposed to be like literally reading in a book. And so
even as she was reading that book, because were we dating when you were reading that? No, this was right before.
Nope.
So us just being friends, I started learning more about marriage, about womanhood and manhood, while she was reading the book, us just chopping it up.
My external processor. So
I felt like I was reading the book with you, and so a lot of the preconceived notions were being corrected or crossed out without us planning.
Right.
Let me go ahead and put this out there. We are Forrest Gump.
right.
Like in our life.
Wait,
Forrest,
what?
Yeah,
You gotta explain that.
It's one of her top 10 movies. So you explain that, babe.
You've seen the movie. If you've seen the movie, Forrest Gump, he was in very big places or big situations, but he didn't realize it. So he was meeting the president, and the president was like, what do you have to say? And he was like, well, I got to pee. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was just himself in these grand moments. Like, they were integrating schools, and he was like, oh, what's going on here? Or he was in a hotel. He was dancing with Elvis. He didn't know that at the time.
He called the cops to turn off the light in a building because he couldn't sleep, and it was Watergate.
Like, these huge moments were happening, and and it's just like he was happenstance there. And so I'm like, man, we are Forrest Gump. We were in a situation. And it's like, this is what this is. And that's still happening.
That book, like just our timing, a lot of that, we can't take credit. It's grace. And so literally we're like, oh, God, you did that.
I didn't even say, let me read this book to learn about me. I didn't even know that that's what the book was about.
Right.
Yeah. It was called Men Are From Dirt, Women Are From Men. And I was like, I like that title, right?
Okay, yeah.
I did not know at all it was from marriage. But it was so good. So I kept reading it. And I was like, did you know?
Right.
Did you know this?
Yeah.
And so I think just that and me growing in the Lord just helped me kind of not have too many expectations outside of something that God wants, that's purpose driven, and that's forever. Some of the good things I saw, though, I did see, like my parents are still married to this day. So I saw through good and bad, I didn't see them give up on marriage. You know what I'm saying? And so that was also like, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to be in it no matter what.
My parents are still together too. So.
Yeah.
So and without them saying you got to stay in marriage, like they modeled that through thick and thin. So.
Yeah, I think the other part, one thing you say about your parents often is you saw them, they were better friends than spouses at times.
Yep.
And so one of our C's for marriage was companionship.
Yep.
And we saw, the value of companionship. We saw the value of companionship with Jesus and his disciples. But we say, that's the part that gets overlooked the most in relationships is friendship. Like, can we be friends? And so I think because we were friends, that helped us learn together without the expectation of me wooing her over. Like wooing her, winning her over all the time or trying to be something. She knew so much of my dirt already. You know what I'm saying? Like, she knew my imperfections. She saw the first version of Adam in me and the second version of Adam in me. So I was like, man, only God can impress her at this stage. But to answer your question, I think we saw a lot of people come out of broken places. We saw a lot of people who also had a fantasy view of marriage. And honestly, the reason why I said with Forrest Gump, I just remember people's eggshell being burst open because they got married and it was like this is not what we
Right.
expected, you
Right,
know.
right.
And some of the couples we talked to was like, no, it's not what we expected, you know. And so Cherelle talked about a lot of the, you know, very mature things. Me, on the other hand, once I got saved, I wanted to get married. One reason was I couldn't have sex.
Right.
So once I got
First Corinthians chapter 7, if you're burning in your flesh, you
It's
should
better
get
to get
married.
married.
Yeah.
Right. And so as a
That's the reason
freshman,
why we got married.
that's the reason why you.
That's the reason
That's
why he
that's
Now,
like,
the
wanted
thing
to
is,
get married when he did.
I'm not going to say it's the number one reason, but I will say it's top 2.
listen, I don't know why we try to exegete that out the Bible. Like,
Right.
like some people need to get married. Like Marvin Gaye won't too far off.
Love and happiness.
No, that's Al Green.
Oh, my bad.
Marvin
Right.
Gaye's a sexual healer.
Oh, sexual healing.
So he won't too far off. Now, in the confines of marriage, when you have a covenant that covers this and is in grace and is not just for self gratification, like it could go a long ways. So when I got saved and I knew, I was like, man, well, I got to be abstinent. No, yeah, Lord, there got to be a better plan.
Right.
So I wanted to get married. I would have got married in college. Like God had me wait. And I was like, man, I dated a girl in college. I started treating that joint like we were like going to church together. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, we gonna get married. Man, we broke up. I was like, this ain't it. Right. So I was like, I'm gonna be single, because even in that, I had some struggles physically, like with sexual purity. And I was like, man, I can't do that. All right, so let me just be single because I don't want to mess up nobody else. You like that literally was my thought. So I was single for some years. Then I know we might talk about this later. So, you know, I got another relationship and I was like, man, I almost had sex again. And I was completely afraid. I was like, I don't want to mess up. I was like, but one of my hosts was like, no, God called me to ministry. And I know I have this appetite and I believe it's from the Lord because he gave me this desire for a woman, right? And I want to honor him with it. So I want to preach and I want to be able to enjoy.
Which is funny because, you know, battling with that burning desire for a sexual intimacy, not being married. I remember a few times where we were praying. I'm not sure if you did, but I know myself and a couple other people were praying, Lord, take this feeling away from me.
Dude. And
it was like, why would you pray?
The Holy Ghost
to
arrested me.
take it away from you.
Not the Holy Ghost.
And I'm not sure who said something about it, but somebody was like, don't pray that God take it away from you. Pray that he will give you self-control.
Yes.
So that when you could preserve yourself, so that when later on you could be able to
enjoy,
satisfy that appetite. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, I got to say this, and I want to get y'all's response to this. I remember once we were doing, I don't know if we were doing Temptation Island or we was doing some study, and the talk was, we got to the point of talking about sexual purity. And basically we were saying, you know, you know, God desires for us to save ourselves for our
spouse,
the person that we're married to, right? So somebody came out and said, well, you don't just buy a car off the lot without testing it first. So how come I shouldn't test drive the car before I decide to buy it? Because I want to make sure that the car runs well. If y'all can follow where my analogy is going.
Yeah.
And at that time, I'll be honest with you, I was like, that's a pretty good.
You want to taste the milk before you buy the cow.
That's a pretty good daggone point. How would y'all respond to a person who would say something like that?
Go ahead, man.
Well, you're not buying a car. Like that's just straight up. Like let's be